All right, so I'm Dan Gregoire. I'm the founder and chairman currently, and director at Halon Entertainment. And I'm just going to talk a little bit here while some people gather up. But I'm basically going to be walking you through Halon's adoption of Unreal Engine over the last 4.5 years. And showing a bunch of the projects that we've done, talking about the milestones that we've encountered, talking about milestones in the development of the engine as well. And just generally talking about how basically Unreal has become the center of our universe. So welcome. Thanks for coming. And the whole point of this talk is really talking about this as being a rewarding journey. It's been a difficult journey. It's been a challenging journey. It's been a journey that not everybody wanted to take at first. But at the end of the day, the reason I call it rewarding is because a rewarding journey is really something that follows something that is challenging and pushes you to do better and greater things. So let's just take a quick look at the timeline here. And so Halon actually started back in like 2002, about 17 years ago. And I'm only going to cover this moment that Tim Sweeney had on May 2nd, 2015, where he said, "If you love something, set it free." And if you look at the timeline, you'll see these are all the projects at the top here that we did using Unreal Engine since that time. And at the bottom is all the projects that we've completed using Maya as a final rendering tool, essentially. So we still use Maya for everything we do in Unreal Engine, but we've really stopped using it as a final rendering tool for visualization at this point. The other things to note are at the top, and I'll get into specifics when we get to them, but at the top, you'll see milestones that happen, both for the engine and for us. So the introduction of sequencer, additional pipeline support, things that we've written, Python support, and then slating tools, round trip tools, and things like that. And I'll get into those details as we get into more of the details. So starting again and restating, this was a huge moment. And I was telling somebody about this last night at the Epic Virtual Production Summit. I had been pitching on real-time engines to directors for years prior to this. I had an opportunity to pitch George Lucas the idea of using the Half-Life 2 engine to do visualization, and he thought it was a great idea, but thought he'd be long gone by the time the technology became mature enough for anybody to use it. And I also got the opportunity to show Unreal Gears of War 1 cinematics to Steven Spielberg and pitch him the idea of using game engines for cinematics. But at each time, there was really this barrier to entry, i.e. like $1 million license fee to essentially get your hands on the technology. And when this happened, that was the moment. That was the time when it was like, Unreal Engine becomes free for linear content. That's when I was like, okay, all engines go. It's time to do this. And so in early 2015, when this happened, we were already in progress on a bunch of projects. And one thing to remember about this timeline too is that all of these projects have run up, right? So when we get over here, like Logan and War for the Planet of the Apes, those are all starting over here somewhere. So these are all the product's release dates, not the starting date for us. Some of these projects take a year, 3 months, 2 years. Sometimes we're on projects for a couple years. So a lot of this stuff over here is actually starting over here. It's just that's the release date of the actual title. So looking at 2015, 2016, we basically took on the engine. We said, listen, as a company, we're going to do this. We know this is the future. We know this is what needs to happen, and we know where this is going. And as a company, we want to be ahead of the game. But to do that, we had to change our methodologies and our thinking. We were a linear content visualization studio, primarily focused on feature films. And we were about to take on a piece of technology that takes an entire different methodology and way of thinking, essentially game development. And it was hard. I will not lie. It was tough. It was tough to not only get our people convinced, but also to get clients on board and to actually get people trained up, et cetera, et cetera. But our first project was something ironically called First. And we did this actually for advanced micro devices, AMD, and Oculus. And essentially this is running 90 frames per second, and this was for a video card that didn't exist yet, running on a headset that we couldn't get access to. So our first project, we were kind of running with like one leg tied to the other leg and our hands behind our back, but we did manage to deliver on time, on budget, and produce this as a complete VR experience. And the way we did that was to take some of our existing talent and actually, I'm going to go back one sec, take some of our existing talent and pair them with specialty hires that were actually focused in game development. And in that way, we could still do the art and the animation, but we actually had somebody actually doing the game work as well. But our next project, and I don't know why this is dying on me here, but our next project was actually a theme park ride, location-based entertainment for Great America, for the property Mass Effect. So there's actually a ride up in San Jose at Great America that has this with the motion-based seats, people acting in front, and we were able to take. That's bizarre. I don't know what PowerPoint's doing on me there, but whatever. We were able to take, I'll just play that again, I think. We were able to take the actual assets from the game, from BioWare, put them into Unreal Engine 4, because the game was actually in Unreal Engine 3, and then render them out as final pixels, 4K stereo for the ride film. And then, of course, do all the engineering with the team that was actually building the motion base, etc. So we instantly discovered that not only could we do visualization and VR, but we could actually take these things in a specialty context to final pixels for final use. And then we started using it for like pitch pieces. Crash Site is a project that I don't believe has ever come out, but it was a pitch that we did for a director who was trying to get money to sell their project to the studios. And we started to apply this process. And the whole time we're doing this, like there's no sequencer. It's all matinee. It's all game vanilla, white box tools that you could download offline, etc. And people were starting to get used to these, starting to train up on them. And I'm sorry, most of these are on our website, so I'm going to cut through a few of them because I only have 20 minutes. I have about 2 hours worth of reels. So, but then we start to get into 2017, and the teams for like Logan and War of the Worlds, who are sort of spearheading most of this on a large scale, have been going for quite a while. But what's really starting to happen now is we're starting to get, custom pipeline additions to how we work. We're starting to see the addition of Sequencer, which actually was never used on those projects because we didn't want to change engine versions on midstream. So like War of the Worlds and Logan's were done on like 4.09, or those earlier versions. Meanwhile, Orville's coming along, and Orville's starting to use, I think it was 4.14 or something, when Sequencer dropped. So we were actually able to start to roll Sequencer in, roll people off of these projects who are more familiar with the engine, and start to see the advantages of the things that Epic was doing to help us along. The hiring of Kim Library and the hiring of Max Chen, who I'd actually worked at ILM to develop tools for the ILM Xeno platform for nonlinear editing in 3D space. And we also start to see a shift from projects that are being primarily rendered and finalized in Maya to everything starting to move up to the top of the timeline, up to Unreal, where Unreal is becoming more and more where most of our artists are spending their time. And when I start to think about some of the pipelines and things that we were developing along this time as well, we started to develop like exporting tools for Maya. Just very, very basic stuff. Like how can we handle our own asset classes, our own character animation, our own props, our environments? How can we speed up the process and create sort of button clicks for artists instead of having to do like the manual export, import, reassign, connect process, all that kind of stuff. We start to look at custom pipelines. But near the end of Orville, Unreal basically launches another version of the engine with Python support, and that completely opened up the game for us. And keep in mind, these projects over here are starting around this time, so we're starting to be able to think about taking advantage of those new features. And with every project we do, we're leapfrogging. We're updating our engine version, we're developing new tools, we're training people, our onboarding process is changing, so that we're starting to migrate now from teams with 1 or 2 engine artists who are becoming bottlenecks, frankly, into teams where the training and the responsibilities for each artist is every artist in the engine, not just a couple people. And we're writing our tools to accommodate that. So artists can come on board, they get trained up, they get into the engine, they understand at least the basics, but they're using our tools to smooth the process and become more efficient in the engine itself. So Logan, from a specific standpoint, we had 2 different supervisors sort of spearheading this, Clint Regan and AJ Brion, both immensely talented supervisors. And each of them were taking individual tracks in terms of trying to crack how to really get into quick turnaround visualization in a linear workflow the best. Like, what's the best way for us to really crack this? Clint took the methodology of sort of compartmentalizing things. Every asset had a different exporting class, and when you imported it into the engine, and they're still using Matinee, no sequencer yet. When you brought it into the engine, it was a very simple process to combine everything, to hook everything back up from an animation standpoint, props, models, and textures, all that kind of stuff. And was actually able to complete quite a bit of really excellent work. But where things really took off for us in Unreal Engine for Project Logan was the building of forests and trees and vegetation and crazy stuff that, it's not really that hard to build in Maya, but with using Unreal's terrain and paintbrush tools for building, lush, dense forests and vegetation, it became much, much faster, like exponentially faster. And then, of course, you could see stunt visualization being done as a post-viz process here as well. So developing processes so we could render out layers and actually do compositing and things like that. So, sorry, I'm going to have to cut some of these off. So, a parallel track was Planet of the Apes. And these two projects were going head-to-head parallel for quite a long time. Planet of the Apes took a little bit different track. They actually were able to combine and build a pipeline where you could actually start to export major chunks of scenes at a time rather than one piece at a time. And then when you brought it into Engine, the assembly process was a little more unified. They also started to experiment with streaming levels. Like we started to get our heads more into the gaming methodology, which was, work in sub-levels, stream those sub-levels up to a master level. Then that master level went up to like a master scene file. And then within that master scene file, you could turn off the streaming levels in order to actually break down and understand how the components of your scene were working. And of course, on Planet of the Apes, there was a very big push to actually increase the overall fidelity of the visualization process. Better lighting, better animation. We were working back and forth with Weta and with their pipeline, where we were getting joints and time code based motion capture from Weta filtered back into our pipeline so that when we turned our assets and assembled them all together and put them back to, sent them back to Weta as FBX files, they actually got the same data they had sent us. So we were really working to streamline the round trip process between early visualization, the handoff to visual effects, the motion capture shoots with Andy Serkis and the rest of the crew for the Apes, that data coming back to us for post-visualization, and then that data going back to Weta to actually accomplish the finals once the director and the editor had worked out all the intricacies of the storytelling process. So really becoming really more integrated with a much more robust set of pipeline tools and the ability for our artists to really push together some really beautiful work. I mean, this is previs basically, right? So we're not known for our visual acuity. We don't send our pixels up to the final screen. But at the end of the day, these images are helping the studio decide whether or not this is a film they're going to spend a little extra money on or not. And I can tell you that by delivering this kind of image instead of a rougher image, people don't get stuck on the little details that throw them out of the experience and start to eat away at their ability to see, quote unquote, see what the final product is going to be. And when we're delivering this, they can see it. There's no question about what's there. And the dynamic systems, the vegetation systems, all that kind of stuff, immensely more easy, immensely easier for us to deliver an awesome final product when it comes to visualization. And then we're also doing things like this, and this was a project I actually spearheaded, which is a mobile game. So not only are we doing visualization, but Epic and its Unreal technology is actually enabling us to expand our repertoire of things that we can do. So this is a stylized mobile VR game for Oculus Gear VR, and it plays on Oculus Go as well. But we built a product basically. So now we have a stable of artists and technicians who understand game technology, so we can actually start to really seriously look at expanding our repertoire and diversifying our company into avenues of business that we may not have been able or even willing to tackle prior. And obviously, honestly, using Unreal for mobile was a dream. It was a fantastic experience, and this is actually an available shipping product on Gear VR that you can download for free today. It's an educational experience that takes you to different parts of the world at the time when they were being built or at their peak. Machu Picchu, Taj Mahal, and Colossus of Rhodes. So getting into 2018, so we're doing visualization, we're doing VR and game products, we're doing location-based entertainment stuff. Like the diversification and the ability for us to do like crazy, amazing things is becoming wider and more diversified. Now we're starting to look at projects like Barbie video logs. we're still doing great projects like Aquaman and Meg, and these projects now are using Sequencer. And of course these projects, are always starting over here sometimes, so there's lots of roadmap in front of them. But we're also doing, things like, we'll get to these trailers over here, but we're doing high-end AAA trailers as well. So check out Barbie here. So Mattel has a YouTube channel for Barbie, and it's called the Barbie Video Logs. And it was done in a pre-rendered way before, offline pre-rendered way. We were able to take the Barbie video logs and actually push them into Unreal Engine, so that when Mattel wrote a script, that script could actually be delivered from performance capture shoot with America Young to on YouTube in less than 6 days, end to end. And the team working on that project was a single individual, Amy Barlow, who was responsible for basically taking all the motion capture data and the facial data that we were getting from a partner of ours, putting it on Barbie, adjusting the environment, because Mattel wanted to change the environment on every episode, a new environment, or maybe Ken would stop by, and get that out on YouTube. And the only reason it really took 6 days is because of the client feedback interaction and approvals. We could have actually gotten this done in several days, and now we can actually do this live real time. So, streaming if you like. So we're looking at the ability to essentially capture messages that are contemporary and relevant now to today's quick turnaround media cycles that can actually speak to the audience. So Barbie all of a sudden she became woke. Not my language. She was speaking because she was speaking to people out there on YouTube about issues that they cared about now and not a couple of weeks from now or even a few days because of the speed of the media cycle. So you can see we're using virtual camera, we're doing all sorts of crazy stuff. But the other exciting part of this, though, is that we're actually starting to get deeply into the game tools, and our own internal export-import process is becoming much more robust. So for Meg, we were actually able to use the AI systems in Unreal for all the swimmers in this scene, so that when we actually swam the shark through the ocean, through the crowd, the AI swimmers would actually start to swim out of the way, right? So now our animators aren't wasting a bunch of time doing crowd simulation or individuals, running away. They're actually spending their time on figuring out what the cinematography for the shark is going to be. And then of course, taking it to this level visually helps everybody in the process understand where the final needs to go. Also at this point, we start to look at more robust import-export tools and also post-visualization tools. So this is sort of our first experimentation when we started to go, aha, we might be able to actually do final visual effects using Unreal Engine. Because, you can still tell this is visualization, but you know what, it's getting closer. It's getting a lot closer. And in fact, we're actually completing 2 projects right now using the ray traced version of Unreal Engine for final commercial work. So, this was a few years ago. We're already there doing this kind of stuff. But our import-export process is important to take a look at here as well. And I'm going to move on to, I'll talk about that in a second. So we're also building tools, right? If anybody was at the Virtual Production Summit, that's way beyond anything we've built, which is amazing. But we've got this simple little location scouting tool, which we were able to throw together in basically a week with a single developer, where you can actually get into a scene, walk around, place cameras, start and stop the action, choose your lenses, and then actually export all those out as sequence cameras so that you can actually put together a quick little edit of a scene that you might be walking around. So now we're doing not only the actual production and the animation, all that kind of stuff, we're also trying to facilitate the needs of our clients using this technology as well. So it really speaks to sort of the power and flexibility of the Unreal Engine. And then Aquaman. So Aquaman is when our tool started to get to a point where we had full scene export from Maya, i.e. you don't have to worry about what kind of asset class you're exporting, and full scene import and assembly in Unreal Engine. So button press from Maya, button press in Unreal Engine using Python scripts. You don't have to manually attach or connect textures or scripts or animation or anything. And then we actually took that a step further. We also have full export from Unreal Engine as well, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But what's fantastic about Aquaman is you see these scenes and they're huge. Thousands of vehicles and characters. It's the third act battle, basically. I actually just demonstrated a couple of these scenes running live at a keynote address for NVIDIA in Taiwan at Computex, running live at 24 frames per second on a laptop with a 2080 Ti video card. Without building scenes with the methodology, without being in the mindset of being in a game, real-time, runtime environment, we probably would have never been able to do that. And because we can iterate and iterate and iterate and come up with ideas in front of the directors, in front of creatives, in front of the brain trust of our production, and bring them to the final solution so much faster than we would have been able to if we weren't using this technology. So that brings us towards 2020, 2019, and what we're doing now. So I just finished directing the Borderlands 3 trailer for E3 that we did in Unreal Engine. And what's neat is now all of our tools we're developing in our own pipeline, we're able to actually push into other people's third-party builds, like Gearbox's build for Borderlands. Also, Dark Phoenix, a little bit different project, is more of an art development project where we're actually trying to figure out, we figured out like what all the blobby, nebulous energy effects were around Phoenix. So, using dynamics and particle systems and cloth simulations and lighting effects and all sorts of different things. Unreal turned into essentially a design aid tool for us. I unfortunately don't have the permission to show any of the stuff yet. Check back to halon.com. It'll be online probably the next couple weeks. But I'll show you another VR project we did as well. This was for Boeing, the Department of Defense, Titan Missile Museum. Essentially building out a semi-realistic simulation of being a missileer in a intercontinental ballistic missile silo. This happens to be a Titan one, which is declassified, and it's actually turned into a museum in Arizona now, if you're ever there. But again, just gives us the ultimate flexibility to do amazing things that aren't necessarily down the tracks that we started the company to do. And then Mouthguard. So hopefully you all saw the Mouthguard released by Wes Ball on YouTube. Unfortunately, Disney asked him to take it down, but he did do an FX Guide article after that, where he got to talk a lot about the work that we all did on Mouthguard. And Mouthguard was a collaboration between Wes Ball, and a pretty traditional Hollywood art department, Glendary's Fox VFX Lab, and Halon Entertainment, primarily those three groups. We had about 30 people at one point working on this project. But if you did see it, I hope you did. It's really what we consider the pinnacle of visualization right now, because when you watch it, you're like, wow, this is only a couple percentages away from potentially being an animated final product. And it's really the culmination of 4 years of experience working in the engine, the heavy use of photogrammetry, better training on lighting, particles, dynamics, and working with Fox VFX Lab. Amazing set of performance capture tools and transfer technologies. We were doing full face animation. We were doing fur. If you look at the video on YouTube, it's still up there. Half the shots have full fur simulations, cloth simulations, dynamic simulations. Like there's a bird in there with air on the wings and stuff. It really is a culmination of an amazing set of talent and work. And I'll have questions. I'll take questions at the end. And then the last thing I'll show, and you guys can pump up the volume on this if you want, is the Borderlands 3 trailer. Again, what we're able to do now with our internal pipeline is not only export from Maya and automatically connect everything in Unreal, but we're actually able to take that Unreal scene, give it to a director, have them change a bunch of stuff if they want to retime or move things around, and then export all those changes back to Maya, back to our original rigs. So it's essentially a round trip tool. We can go around and around and around all day long, no matter where those changes get made, which is an incredibly powerful tool for us to have in terms of being able to actually offload scenes. Like Wes Ball on Mouthguard, he took scenes home. He monkeyed with them. He stretched time, he moves things around, and in order to get that back into Maya so that we could actually do proper VFX handoffs to Weta, we needed to get that data out of the engine and back to Maya without breaking anything or having it be baked. In fact, none of what we do is baked to Limbic. It's all live data, streaming, joints, etc. So Borderlands, they've got their own build of the engine. It's a custom build of Unreal 4. We were able to put all of our tools in there, and it allows us to do final rendered video game cinematics using full performance capture. out of our partners and our clients' engines as well. And the fact that we have about, I think we have about 75 full-time artists now, and they are all trained up on Unreal. There's really no bottlenecks anymore. We still have specialty Unreal people to take care of blueprinting and pipeline development, and more stickier things like dealing with third-party builds of engines and the tools that they have built in, etc. But all of our artists now are essentially Unreal generalists. And when I say that Unreal is the center of our universe, I'm not exaggerating. So that leads us to the end. Right now we have, apparently this has been updated since the show started, we have 10 ongoing Unreal projects. We're scaling up as a company. If you're interested in an opportunity with Halon, absolutely please come and see me afterwards or apply. And we're really looking forward to the things coming up. And we're already using ray tracing on 2 final visual effects level commercials right now. We're really looking forward to the USD support that they're talking about in the next coming versions. And just some last thoughts. I mean, I think from Tim Sweeney releasing it free in 2015 to the commitments that they've made to our community in terms of visual storytelling over the last 4.5 years, for us, Unreal is really where it's at. They've shown us that they're going to do it. They've talked about doing things, and they complete. They finish. They actually deliver the things they're talking about. And for us, nothing could be more important than that. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. And